week. And then we also had Christian, who joined Metro. Welcome to Christian and Chanel. I didn't see if you're in there. If you are, shout it out in the chat, please. And at the signature office, our very own Nikki Thomas officially passed her licensing exam and is a licensed real estate agent. Congratulations, Nikki. Okay, September leaderboard had a lot of great updates going on. So we wanted to share the slides for how our agents showed up with y'all. And look at all those shiny, happy faces. One of my favorite things, congratulations to everybody, top 10 year to date, top 10 monthly, again, teams and groups, year to date and monthly, and we're doing both Metro and Signature. So there's a lot of good smiling faces coming by you and all these things. One of my favorite things that happens in the top 10s and the top 3s and the recognition slides is when the agent who's on there calls me or texts me back when I congratulate them and says like, what, how did I get there? So it's the beauty of being surrounded by top humans out here. There are new faces and familiar faces on there. And congratulations to all of you for continuing to work hard through this market. If you're wondering what's the common denominator to everyone who's showing up on those leaderboards, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is it? What's the magic sauce they're doing? I can't say that there's anything super fascinating about it. It's just that they do their job all the time. It's not to say if you're not on the board, you're not doing your job all the time. It's to say it's just the consistency of the energy and the output. So if you're doing it, keep going. Your time will come. And no one on there has any special tricks. I mean, maybe Sal, he's been doing it for so long, he's got special tricks in those sneakers he wears, but I think his special trick is just he's always got that phone in his ear, you know? All right, y'all, so congratulations to that. And now we have our trainings and events coming up. We have the end of the month, our Market Stats in person is October 25th with Ashley in person. And Evie, did Bridget want to talk about Bingo Halloween? Or
I'll do it. She's running right now, Sarah. So just wanted to remind everyone, it's like save the date, same day as our Ashley's Market Stats Day on October 25th. Right after that, we will have our, yearly Halloween. We're kind of putting it all together as like a bingo potluck hour, coming costumes. We will have some prices and just have a fun time. We'll have some appetizers, actually do the potluck and bring in some appetizers to kind of share with everybody. It'll just be a great time to have social time and just a fun time with everyone after stats. So October 25th, right after the team meeting.
Awesome, Grant. I saw you said what kind of prizes? Prizes based on the costume. So stay tuned for those details on what you're doing. I know we had some real awesome people showing up last year. One of our leadership team might have been in the running for Wednesday Addams. I'm not sure. The rest of y'all, we've got some serious customers in the Metro Signature group. So if that's for you, awesome, do it. If it's not, come and just get your Market Stats goodness anyway. Maybe you could dress as a real estate agent for the day. And Alicia or Robert, who's doing coaching spotlight today? Bieber?
Alicia, can you take that please today?
Sure. Do I have slides?
You do.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Slides.
So on Team Me, Lexi got another BRBC sign. She's in launch with me. And Sam and Yanni, they're up here every week. They closed another escrow with a buyer and they are in growth with me.
Congratulations. I love On Team Me.
Team Me.
On Team Me. Congratulations, Sam and Yanni and Lexi. Great work. Sam and Yanni are always on that board every week. So again, it's the consistency and that good energy going out there. My movement friends, we are cruising right along today and I can't see everyone. So who is here to talk? Do I see Eddie? Do I see Matt?
You guys went really quick. Yeah. So good. I have more than 2 minutes. How do you like them apples? I'm just kidding. So
I didn't say that you had more than 2 minutes. I just said we're coming too early. I'm just kidding.
So got some good updates for you guys. New loan limits have not been announced, but we're anticipating that they're going to be higher. So we've actually early released our loan limits up to 750 for a conventional conforming loan. So they were 726,200 in San Diego County. We're now bumping them up to 750. There's a new guideline that came out on multifamily houses, you guys. It used to be 15% for a duplex and 25% for a 3 or 4 unit. It is now 5% across the board. Makes a huge difference, y'all. I just raised my hand. I didn't.
That helps.
Yeah, that definitely helps. And that's everywhere in the country, in case you guys are looking for any other properties to invest in. Who had that? There was another agent that posted something today with $100,000 property in Indiana. I'm like, that looks like an EMD deposit around here. So
And you say that again, there's questions popping up about the 5% down payment for duplexes and that it's everywhere. Talk about that for a minute, please.
5% minimum down for 2 to 4 family units going forward. So it used to be 15% for a duplex. It used to be 25% for a 3 or 4 unit. It's now 5% across the board. For any multifamily. Questions? Go ahead.
All right. So if let's say a guy was to get a 4 unit and he wants to rent the other 3 out. So without even it being occupied, would that count as income towards the how much they get pre-approved for?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So what happens is that if they're not rented out, the appraiser is going to order a rent schedule for that property, and we're going to take a look and see what the equivalent rents are for units just like that in the area, and then we can use up to 75% of those rents to offset the debt.
What are you asking?
Ed, I have a question. When you say 5% down, does that mean
Yes.
one of the units needs to be owner occupied, or is this strictly any investment? I can buy something in Nebraska and I don't need to be there and I can still do 5.
Those are 5% down for owner occupied.
Okay.
Occupied.
Owner.
Got it.
Rates are getting a lot better, you guys, after this weekend. You know, everything is kind of like Sarah said, we're having some really crazy times in the world. And when that happens, bond prices go up, yield prices come down. So rates have been getting better the past couple of days. And just so you guys know, we don't just do conventional FHA, VA, and jumbo loans. Movement in-house, we have over 30 products that we have, from bank statement loans to DSCR loans to you name it, they're out there. One of the classes this during this curriculum that we're doing through Movement Mondays, I just got the national director of jumbo and non-qualified mortgages for Movement Mortgage to come and teach a class on all things not conventional FHA and VA for us. I hope you guys all come and join that class. She'll get into depth about all these different, I mean, this is like loans 2000, right? This isn't a 101 mortgage anymore. I want you guys to know all these different types of products. We did a renovation loans, we did a reverse mortgages, but we're also looking at really thinking out of the box. And if we can't do it, you guys, I have 30 different banks that we can go through to broker out these products to make it happen. So just so you guys know, we are a one-stop shop. We are not just like a couple of trick ponies here with conventional. So when we need to get outside the box, we can. That's all I got, you guys. Thank you for the extra few seconds. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing us the update. That's a big deal for anyone who's out there shopping. I know one of the conversations, this is how you would talk to your clients about it. They're talking about when your child becomes of age to purchase, teaching them to buy a duplex right away, helping them buy a duplex right away. They're living in it, they're occupying it, they're renting it out. So if you have people in that bracket in your database, go have that conversation. Hey, did you know that this just changed? And if you could get your person to their first property, they could also be owning it, investing, et cetera, all at the same time. Be a helper. Okay.
I have a question before you go on to Eddie.
Yeah.
So that's owner occupied. What is it? How much down is it if someone's not occupying the duplex or the 3 or 4 plex?
I will get back to you on that. I don't think that changed. So, but I'll get back to you with that question.
I don't believe that changed, Lynn.
Yeah.
So then that's still 15% and.
If it's
25%.
investment, yes.
Thank you.
Good question. Good questions, guys. There's no bad questions. So ask your questions, put them in the chat. You know, this is the time to get clarity on what's curious to you. I did wonder how I got through everything in the beginning so quickly. I skipped bucket fills. So I want to just pause and say, does anyone here have a bucket to fill or something they want to celebrate from this week past?
I have a bucket fill, Sarah.
Go, Evie.
I just want to say thank you to everybody right here on the screen. Dan, for always, anytime he sees me downstairs and just kind of preparing for end of our trainings, he's always like super willing to help out. I really, really appreciate you always. Nicole, Matt, and Eddie, thank you for sponsoring our agent welcome luncheon yesterday and being part of that event. Thank you. And Nicole also for like helping me with the breakdown of yesterday's event. So I just want to say thank you very much to everyone.
Awesome. Thanks for that reminder. Yesterday's new agent luncheon feels like a month ago already. It was such great energy, great food, great conversations. If you're an agent who gets invited to that from like ALC leadership, et cetera, it's just such a cool time to come together in a small group and get to know the agents who've joined us in that quarter. So if you've joined recently and you're like, hey, I wasn't invited, that's because they're on a rolling basis. You'll be invited to the next one. No worries. And yeah, thank you guys. That was a beautiful day. Did anybody else have a bucket to fill or a celebration to share before we move on to property pitches? Okay, if something comes to you.
I will really quick. I just
go ahead,
wanted
Ash.
for the 45, 47 people that are joining me on Mondays. We're only 2 weeks in and it is good for my heart. So I'll fill all their buckets.
For Discover Your Destiny.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. I've heard that is an amazing group of humans getting that Monday session together, and how freaking cool to have that many people in there on Mondays getting Ashley all day, pouring into you to discover more about yourself and have this time together. I mean, I am so excited for all of you with that. Thank you, Ashley, for doing that. Okay, I'm going to go to property pitches. If anybody else has anything, raise your hand and we'll come to you. If anybody has a new listing to pitch or something to talk about, we have a minute or two to devote to that. Go ahead, Mike Law.
Cool. So if y'all don't know, John Fields is going to be a dad any day here. So I'm helping out with one of his new listings coming up in El Cajon. Super cool property. I mean, I'm surprised this is going to be under $1 million, but it's a 4-bedroom, 2,200 square foot on a 10,000 square foot lot, huge pool, RV parking, 3-car garage, and photos are going to be available today. We're going to go live tomorrow.
What's the catch, Mike? Where is it?
It's out in Blossom Valley. It's not that
That's
far.
a deal.
Yeah, it's a great deal. So we anticipate lots of traffic. It's going to move quick. So if you have someone who wants something turnkey, 1995 build with solar, reach out to us, stop by the open house. We'll be there from 12 to 3 this weekend.
What's the address?
It's 9405 Bryan Way.
Awesome. John said, thanks, better than me at pitching. That's amazing. John put the address in the chat. Anybody else a property to pitch or something to share? I know I've seen more listings come in. Maybe they're already sold and we don't have anything left to pitch and days on market has gone down. We'll find out at the end of the month when you're all dressed in costumes. All right. Yeah, Jacqueline's just shouted out how great it was to see everybody at Business Planning Clinic as well. That was we've had so many great sessions with so many of our humans in the room together. Anyone who wasn't at Business Planning Clinic and is thinking, I don't know what that means. I don't have a GPS. I don't have a 411. I don't know what my goals are. I don't even know what you're talking about. If you have a coach, ask your coach. They're there to help you. If you don't have a coach or you want other help, reach out to myself or Jacqueline, and we will help you get dialed in to making sure that's all set up for next year. And the time to plan for next year is actually now, because if you wait until January, it's entirely too late. Yeah, that was my first, will not be my last. Awesome, Kevin. All right. I know Robert and I talked about the topic today, and there's a lot of goodness to go in. So if no one else has a property to pitch or a celebration to share, I will throw it over to Broker Bob to dive into all the NAR updates you've seen, who's joining, who's leaving, what's going on, buyer agency, no commissions, more commissions, who's commissions, I don't know what's going on there, and our seller leads program that we're bringing to the table to all of y'all. Robert, are you there?
I'm here, Sarah.
Take it away.
Thank you. Hello. Hope everybody's having a great afternoon. Evie, there's 86 people on this call. Did we beat our record yet?
No, not yet, Vivi. I was counting that. We needed
Do
6.
we identify that everybody has a name on their screen? Because if you're not identified, we got to kick you out. We're sorry. This is being recorded and we will upload it, but some of the stuff we're talking about today is kind of sensitive to the industry. So I don't really want it out there in the public ethernet.
Everyone has a name, and 92 is our highest Zoom that I'm aware of.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, and then Nikki, I see you have your autopilot. Can you also not blast that out to people? Because we're going to talk about some sensitive stuff in regards to the association. So everybody's been worried or asking questions, or what does this mean? Redfin's leaving NAR. There's a NAR lawsuit. Anywhere is named and they settled. Remax was named and they settled. Keller Williams is in there, but they haven't settled yet. And the true answer is nobody really knows how this lawsuit's going to unfold. Some people are doing it for their stock price because they've got to settle. It was discussed on a legal call I had today. We feel that Redfin leaving NAR, reason being was they didn't want to be dragged into the class action lawsuit. So it was probably a move on them to do that. But what does that mean if Redfin leaves NAR? No one knows, but there are still associations that they have to belong to that requires them if they want to have MLS access. And that is definitely in San Diego. All the associations, you're required to be a member of NAR. So they're not leaving NAR. Now their platform exactly doesn't really kind of work with what the MLS has created across the country, because they kind of like want to be a standalone anyway. And it does kind of come down to the bigger subject is, where's the offer of compensation going to flush out? And in their model, the offer of compensation is perfect for that, not providing anything to the buyer's agent. So you're going to hear a lot of talk in the industry. You get a lot of people on YouTube giving their 2 cents. And really, honestly, from a legal perspective, here's what we know. We don't know anything. We know that the courts take time. If you don't believe that, I don't know. There's a certain person that's got 92 indictments and it's taken forever. I don't know. I won't mention their name, but the court process takes a long time. So it's not going to happen overnight. But here's what I do know. What I do know is what this is going to probably affect, and what I might come down to is, how do you articulate your value to a buyer in a buyer consultation, just in case the offer of compensation in the MLS is 0? Because you're probably not going to want to go show a property to a buyer if the listing broker and the seller is not providing that offer of compensation. So what is my recommendation that you guys get involved with today? 1, know your value. What do you bring to your buyers and your sellers as well too? Because you're going to have to convey to your sellers what it means if there's an offer of compensation to a buyer's broker of $0, and how that could affect traffic coming into their house. So when all this does flush out, Keller Williams will probably revise the training program. That's what Anywhere is going to be doing. And if you look at really what Anywhere agreed to, a lot of the stuff was a nothing burger. It's stuff that we kind of do anyway, but it was just something that they wanted to settle to help their stock price, in my opinion, so that they can get on with the business and let NAR. So who knows how far NAR is going to go with it. NAR is under a lot of pressure right now with a lot of brokers across the country. And they have I don't know if you know this, but they have $1 billion in investments of agents' money that they've stockpiled. So they got a lot of money if they wanted to fight this even further. So who knows what they're going to do. But to me, I believe in the laws in the universe. Everything's going to always unfold exactly where it will need to unfold. And as you better yourself in the industry by being able to articulate your value in a buyer consultation, and also then to understand the new BRBC that was unveiled recently in the state of California with CAR and zip forms. And let me show you this. So this is where a lot of people get screwed up. And I'm going to share my screen. So this is the CAR, the RPA, the residential purchase agreement. This is page 1. Does everybody recognize this document? Give me a shout out if you've never seen it before, because you've never seen it, you've got to come to my contracts training, okay? But this is the purchase agreement. And when they introduced the BRBC last year, they had put into this item 3G3 that everybody screws up and checks this box right here, 3G3. Seller agrees to pay the obligation of the buyer to compensate the buyer's broker under a separate agreement. CAR form SPBB attached. Seller's broker offer, if any, to compensate buyer's broker is unaffected unless otherwise agreed. Why is that box there? Does anybody know? I know Mark does, and I see Mark's on the call. But
Yeah,
yes, Dan, go
I
ahead.
would say that it's there in case you don't agree to the commission that was being agreed to and renegotiating that as part of the purchase agreement.
Yeah. And it's exactly, you have to have a BRBC in place to actually check this box. And when this came out, everybody was checking this box and they didn't have a BRBC. So by checking this box, that means you have a BRBC defined that defines the compensation between you and the buyer. And depending on how you defined that compensation in the BRBC, ultimately it's going to say to the buyer that the buyer is responsible. But in the BRBC, you're going to tell them in your consultation that, hey, if we come across a listing in the MLS that is not providing any compensation, I'm going to submit this form called SPBB. And in that form, and I'll bring that form up, but I'm going to submit that form that says, hey, I have a buyer broker BRBC with this buyer, and we want to ask the seller to pay for the compensation that I, as the buyer's agent, have asked the buyer to pay. Now, let me bring up that SPBB. Don't you just love all these forms, guys? And this is the SPBB that should be submitted if you check that item 3G3 on the purchase agreement, that you would then turn in to say, hey, I have a BRBC with a buyer, and I'm asking you that they've written into a written agreement to pay me 3% of the purchase price or dollar amount if you wanted to do that. And as of the date, this seller payment for the buyer's broker document is signed by the buyer pursuant to the MLS or blah, blah, blah. Seller's broker has agreed to pay the buyer broker 0% or have checked $0 upon completion. So what this form is really doing is it's asking you, you're representing the buyer and you're asking the seller to pay for the compensation that you outlined in the BRBC with that buyer. Now, some of this might be new to some of you guys if you have not sat in on Mark and I's BRBC training. That is streamed on YouTube under the Metro page. And if you don't know how to use the BRBC, I would get lickety-split learning how to use it. And I would get lickety-split learning how to convey that to a buyer, because you're defining your value, you're articulating your value proposition to that buyer as to, first, why you're going to pay me, Mr. Buyer, if the seller doesn't pay, or I'm going to ask the seller to pay and see if they will pay, but ultimately it's going to be your responsibility. That's if we are industry-wide, where now There is no compensation defined in the offer of compensation defined in the MLS. That's a whole lot. Any questions? And
Yes.
please, I do want people to ask questions.
Robert, quick question on that purchase agreement. When you check that box in Zip Forms, does that SBPP or whatever that is automatically populate for us?
It should.
Okay,
Anytime you check a box and you add a form, it does auto-populate in there.
thank you.
But that's
Robert,
hoping,
so-
Dan, that you have a BRBC in place with that buyer.
Robert, it's Russ. I'm confused if we are using this only whenever the seller compensation is less than what's in our BRBC, or are we using this anytime we have a BRBC?
You could use it, yeah, if it's less than what the seller's offering. If the seller's only offering 2%, but you have a BRBC that's stipulates that the buyer will pay 3%. So you're asking for the seller to pay that additional 1%.
Yeah.
That is missing because they're only offering 2%. Yeah, you can use it that way right now. It's perfect.
Okay,
Great question, Russ.
and I can see how in the future, if we go in the direction where the sellers aren't paying it anymore, this would become necessary to use. And when
You
would
got
we?
it, Russ. Are you still in that jacuzzi, by the way? I saw you post a picture of you in the jacuzzi today.
It was yesterday, but come on over. The jacuzzi's still there.
All right.
So
Already at Russ's.
when would we not use this?
When would we not? Well, you might want my broker answer. You should never not use the the BRBC.
No, I mean,
We are
when would
not.
select this SPBB form. When would we not check this box on the RPA?
Well, you would not use it if the offer of compensation is 3% and your buyer broker agreement is 3%. You would still use it if your buyer broker is your BRBC is 3%, because now you're taking it off of the buyer and you're putting on the seller that the seller is actually going to pay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sounds like we should just use, I mean, I always have a BRBC. I don't work with them otherwise. And
Love
so
you.
because of that, I should always be using checking. I should also be checking this box every time.
Yes. Here's what this is going to do, I believe, in the industry. It's going to upgrade the industry for the people that are trained and educated on know how to use the forms. It's going to get rid of the people that are the 1 or 2 deals a year or just do this a part-time or whatever. I think it's really going to transform the industry for the best, but it's going to be rough getting there. And Ashley agrees with me. We've talked about it. It's going through some changes and it's going to be rough, but you've got to treat this as a business anyway. We've always said that. And if you're not treating it like a business, you might not be the one that lasts in the business. That's the bottom line. Because we're not at a we're at a juncture where things are rapidly changing, and we know the ones that treat this like a business are going to be the ones that are going to come up on top. I see a hand, and it's pronounced Soleil.
Yes, it is. So what you do is ahead of time, so when you're signing the BRBC, do you tell your client that my compensation is 3%? And I give you the choice of, I can only show you houses that will compensate me the 3%, but if it's less, you're gonna have to supplement it if I can't get it from the seller. Do you tell them something like that?
Yeah, absolutely not. That's one of the terms that Anywhere agreed to.
Okay.
You can't steer, and one of the other terms was you can't sift and sort listings that offer no compensation. So you can't steer to only homes that are offering compensation. You've got to show them all of the homes that they want to see, whether there's compensation or not. Great question. I'm glad you asked me that question because
but then you do tell them that if you're not getting compensated, then they're gonna have to. Is that an okay thing to say?
Yeah, that's basically what it is. It's an offer of compensation that they're going to pay you, regardless of whether there's a offer of compensation in the MLS or not.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
That's very key. And one of the things you want to make sure you're not doing too is in your buyer consultations. Back in the days, we would entice buyers to come work for us. Come work with me because I'm going to be free. The seller's going to pay for it. You can't be doing that now anyway. Your services are not paid for by the seller at this point. They're paid for. Ultimately, what will happen, it's going to be the onus in the hands of the buyer. Now, how that works out, we don't know yet. But I'm just telling you what you should do to prepare, which you should be doing this anyway. You need to be articulating your value to buyers because you're not over glorified taxi cab or Uber drivers that go and show people properties. And I'm sure some of the veterans here will agree with me how many times they've taken people out in their car with no buyer broker, and that buyer goes and buys a house from someone else. And you spent all this energy and effort on that person. So it's going to tie that buyer to you guys a lot more. That's really the concept about what this is. And it's going to filter and sift and sort the people that you don't want to work with. If they don't want to sign it, send them down the street to another agent. Let them spin their wheels down there because your time is worth money. And you learn that the longer you get in business and you realize my time is valued as money. Rush, you got another question?
Yep. So this is for you and Ed. So there's a 5% difference. Let's say it amounts to $10,000. And how does that get paid for by the buyer? Do they
bring in
can
cash
they
for
up their
closing?
purchase price by $10,000 and
No.
List it as a concession?
No, you can't finance that into the
Can't
loan.
finance that. It's got to
Yeah.
be cash.
So
Now,
it
will
comes,
lending
it
indus-
gets added to their closing costs.
Yep, they have to bring that extra in. Now, there's talk that the lending industry probably might change and have some loans with that, but we don't know about that either yet.
Dude, you can't convey furniture. You're not going to be able to convey your commission, that's for sure.
Okay, so in this situation, it's a $900,000 purchase. And if we say, great, well, let's make it 910 and we'll ask for 10,000 back as a closing cost concession. Is that one way to ultimately get the buyer's $10,000 back, but just calling it something else?
If it appraises for 910, buddy.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the people when we do sales.
I mean, if it doesn't appraise and it appraises at the, underneath that, then what are you going to do?
Well, that's true. And I'm thinking in that case, if they have the money to cover it, then they're paying for it in one way or the other.
I'm sure there will be some creative concepts all over the board being utilized. Realtors will always find a way. Just
Amen
like
to that.
they found a way behind the clear cooperation policy in the coming soon.
But you
Yay
can't,
for that.
but what I'm saying is you can't like bump the loan amount up to cover it. It's a closing cost, so it has to be handled as such.
Yes.
There's a statutory, a mandatory statutory like down payment that has to come out of pocket. 3%, 5%, whatever it is, right? So that has to come out of pocket. The rest is
follow
the
that.
loan amount, right? And then everything else is your closing costs. So if you can come up with a way of finagling that number into a credit, but then what's the point in putting in the credit if why wouldn't the seller just pay for your commission? Like it's just, you know what I mean? Like it's
Russ is always thinking outside of the box.
Exactly. They should, Ed.
Robert, that doesn't make any sense. Try to push it off on the buyer, but then give them a credit to cover the like it's the same thing, and one half doesn't.
So
That's
Eddie,
irrelevant.
You have to
Eddie, right
understand how
now-
Russ's brain works. He always thinks different scenarios.
Oh,
He's
I
in
know.
the maze.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it's a Brad Chulis blessing. It's the Virgo blessing I have.
All
Eddie,
right.
I have a question. Isn't right now, isn't that part of the commissions? Isn't that part of the purchase price agreement?
It's a seller's expense.
Well, this is what the whole NAR lawsuit is
that's what I
about.
mean. So
No, Lynn, the
got it. Yeah,
commissions are
yeah.
not
'Cause it's
negotiated
closing
in-
costs.
the commissions are not negotiated in the offer.
Got it.
Commissions are already spelled out in the listing agreement,
Yeah.
which is why the offer of compensations in the MLS. That's
Okay.
what they're trying to get rid of, where the listing agent would not be having to co-op at all.
Right.
So the seller wouldn't have to pay it.
Okay.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Is
John.
there now any liability that we didn't have before when we're on listing appointments, when we're encouraging, if we encourage a seller to offer, to allow us rather to offer part of the brokerage fee to the buyer's broker? Does it put us at any more risk to still be saying, hey, I think this is a good idea in the interest of getting your house sold quickly for the most money?
Great question, John. That's exactly the point too. From a listing agent's perspective is now how do I talk to the seller about offering compensation to a buyer's broker? And how
Yeah.
do I articulate that and explain that to them in such a way that they understand that it's a good thing for them to
Yeah.
be doing that?
Well, we should all
Yeah.
be doing that before any of this came about.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Do you see my point? This is why it's going to upgrade the industry a little bit.
So there's no issue with me still having that same conversation with them that I've been having all along of like, here's how this works and this is why we do this. There's no problem with that now, right?
At
None
this
whatsoever.
point, your liability
Okay, great.
hasn't gone up, but consumers may start becoming more aware. So you may
Absolutely.
find more pushback.
Yeah, and one of the ways that you may end up handling that, at least in the interim, is saying, look, here's how many listings are on the market right now in the MLS, and here's how many of them are offering zero compensation to a buyer's broker. Just this, we would be the one of two. Do we think that that's going to get us more eyes on the property or less? My job is to get your place sold. So here's what I'm going to recommend, but ultimately it's your choice.
That's it. Perfect, John. You're chief of training now, okay? So get ready. After
No,
you have
hard pass.
Hey, Robert.
All right, Danny.
Hey,
Robert?
I just wanted to kind of go on what Tony DeSello was saying about hallucinating. So don't create hallucinations of things that aren't issues yet. You know, sometimes we anticipate problems and then we create them. So just like John was saying, let's just keep doing what we've always been doing in terms of our listing appointments and explaining the value in offering that commission. We'll see if something actually does happen, but I don't want to have people get into the worry pattern and then they're actually creating something because now that is going to come up because now you're thinking about it. And for example, listing I just had, we talked about it and the seller was old school and he was like, no, I think maybe we should offer even more commission because that way maybe more people will come see the house. So you never know. I just don't like to put out issues that don't exist potentially yet.
And I agree with you, Danny, and that's what this call is about, is to not create pandemonium, but to prepare with stuff that some agents aren't doing. And that is they aren't articulating their value. They don't know the contracts. They don't know how to do the BRBC. So that's where everybody on this call should be moving towards. If you haven't listened to the BRBC call, and go watch it on YouTube, and you can learn how to use it. And let's get into some good stuff though. If there's no, I don't want to like labor the whole call on this because I promised the people that showed up with this that I was going to share a new system that I got attached with last week that I think you'll like. Who on this call would be interested in some seller referral leads? Just put yes in the chat box. So I want to make sure I'm with the right crowd. If I'm not in the right crowd, then I'm going to go pitch it in another office. Okay. Okay, we got a few in there. Okay, great. Let's move on to this one then. So I got an email last week with a company called sold.com. They said, we want to give you seller leads to your agents. I'm like, yeah. What's the catch? I get this all the time. Okay, I sat in on their seminar and I'm like, this is a pretty good deal. Doesn't cost the agent any money and all they have to pay is a referral fee at closing. I'm like, okay, great. So we're introducing sold.com to everybody on this call. First come, first serve. Everybody in the office can sign up for it, but you guys are going to get the link to sign up for it today. This company spends buku bucks each month and they generate about 70,000 leads per month. And within those leads, 78% of the people that they connect end up with listing a property in the MLS or with an agent. So it's really good turnover with these people. So they have several different lead sources they're using: Facebook, Google Ads, organic traffic, partnerships, mailers, and radio ads. And again, as I said, before you all get too concerned, this doesn't cost, it's free. You only pay a referral if you get a seller lead. They have a call center, which is a really good thing. So it's concierge assisted, and this call center basically takes the qualified seller referral lead. And you guys are going to, once you sign up, you've got to go through this webinar. So I'm going to give you the bits and pieces of it. You'll get more of it. Please don't call me and ask me questions on this, by the way, because it should be directed to soul.com. I'm sharing with you what I know today, and then they'll get you tuned in once you get signed up with the company. How are they generating this leads? They got two-tiered system. They got get a free home valuation, which they get a lot of traffic from that one, they said, and then people looking for an agent referral. Again, 70,000 leads per month. The person calls in. They got what they call a concierge assisted. And what will happen is that concierge will book an appointment time, and then they'll text the lead to you, and then you are to claim that lead. And then once you claim the lead, they'll send you the contact information of that lead. Again, it's free, no upfront costs. There is a little caveat here, though, about how you can buck the system and get more leads, and I'll share that at the end. The success, what's the referral fee? 35%. Not too bad. I do those all day long if I didn't have to go generate the listing myself by going out and prospecting day in and day out and day in and day out. They do have a TC and a coordinator team that monitors the leads. And if that, they also have a second tier for that that client. If that referral, if the referral buys a property or sells a property within 18 months, then a fee is due. But let's say you got this lead and that lead happens to be already in your database. Well, they don't want to burn any bridges. You don't have to accept that lead. You can turn the lead down, and then you can still go after that lead privately because you've turned it down. You turn it down within 24 hours, and they'll explain all this on what you need to do. But they said they want to be really agent friendly. They don't want to hold you to every lead they give you. And if you had that person in your database and you can show it to them, then they'll gladly just say, okay, great. We're not going to go after you for that on that. Can all the agents be a part of this? Yes. It's free. Doesn't cost you a dime, just your time to sign up. Now, how do you get leads? So here's the trick. Your ranking in the MLS matters. So newer agents, don't be deterred by this, because they said this on the call. It's like, well, if I'm a new agent, why should I sign up for this? Because if I'm going to be at the bottom, like, you could be at the top, but the way it's like a round robin, and they look at the MLS ranking and they compare it to peers. And what they're really trying to make sure is they're getting enough qualified listing agents that can go through and close those leads. And the closure rate, 41% of appointments convert to listings within 12 months. So it's not that you're going to get that listing right away. It's going to be something you're going to have to keep up on. And they have a portal that all the leads are processed through, that you'll get your own private portal on that as well too. So your ranking does matter. So if you've got a lot of business in the MLS, probably you're going to get the first crack at the lead. Just remember that. You can, however, and it's not in here, you can buy zip codes. So let's say you specialize in a certain zip code, 92103 or 92104. Here's what I would do before you sign up. Figure out what zip code you want to focus in on and which has the highest turnover rate, at least 6 to 8%. Hopefully you know how to get that. You call your title officer, your title rep, and ask them, can you give me the turnover rate for this zip code? Because I want to buy a zip code. And how much does it cost for a zip code? If you sign up within 24 hours with that zip code, it's $25 for that one zip code. A year in advance, they take it all up front, so 12 months, so it's $600 out the door. And you can have the same ranking as someone that does a lot of production. So that's a good thing. So that for those people that are newer agents and they still want to produce, this is a good thing. Let's see what else. What areas does sold.com cover? Everywhere. How many referrals can an agent expect? I don't remember them answering that question. There's no startup fees, and yes, you will have some reporting in the portal, so you need to look for that. So that's a good thing. Get that. Who wants the sign up link? Anybody?
I want it.
You want it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, well, you know, Broker Bob demands dark chocolate. I love chocolate. So if you can get me some dark chocolate, I'd be very happy. And I'll send you the link. No, I'm gonna put in the chat box right now.
We could use some
There it
snacks
is.
for office too. That'd be great.
I just dropped in the chat box. I like that, Jacqueline. I get chocolates after each closing. I just dropped it in. Click on that link. I will also be sending out that link. Is it an easy way for me to send out this link? Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this entire presentation in the chat box as well too, so you have access to that if you lose the link. It's on page 15 to 17 right there. You click on that link right there. All right, questions? They're all signing up, I hope. This is a pretty new program, so the quicker you guys get on it, the better it will be for you. All right, everybody's being quiet. I guess no one's excited about getting seller leads sent to them in their inbox. All right, Sarah. We went
from like 27 hands up and a million questions to Stone Cold.
They're all signing up. That's the thing. They're all signing up right now.
Deborah Brown. Oh, I thought you came off mute. I was like, did you have a question? Doing mental math.
I did, but I got the answer.
Nice.
I mean, I thought about doing the 600, the zip code and the $600, but I'm like, I don't have time right now.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So does anyone have questions before we move away from Robert's conversations? Because I saw a lot of hands before. I want to make sure anyone gets a chance to ask whatever they had.
That I'm already inside the system. Under
Someone's talking.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Grant. Oh, he's on the phone. Okay. Dangers of Zoom. If you're talking and you press the mute button and you go off mute, we can hear you. So, okay. If you have problems, like Robert said, he's not the answer system for the sign up problems. That's going to be you and sold.com.
Quit texting me in the chat box. I see people texting me.
He does not know the answers. That's you and the technology system. That's separate. I will let you know. I won't go too far into it because I feel like everyone's already deep ended their brains into NAR and buyer agency. And now I'm signing up for seller leads on sold.com. As I said at the top of the conversation, we're going to be focusing the rest of the month completely on sellers and how to get them, have them do more of it, etc. There's two things we're going to be sharing out with y'all. One is the Google form that Sheena shared last week for you to send out as a survey to your entire database. You would send it out to past clients 1000%. I said, why don't you just go ahead and send it out to everyone? So you're going to see that pop up on Facebook. You're going to see that coming out to you in different Work Smarter sessions with me and Power Prospecting, etc. And then you're going to also see the seller seminar. I'm going to take a moment right now and share my screen and show you the seller seminar PDF. And I want to just walk you through briefly what it is and what you're going to see with it. This is something else that I've been sharing with the Agent Leadership Council for the past couple of weeks. And I think that all of you should take this on by Zoom, by whatever means you see. Come to the trainings, participate in this conversation. Some of the coaching agents in the newer program we're talking about teaming up together and doing it. The reality is many of you are taking on buyer seminars. Why wouldn't you take on seller seminars as well? So we're going to give you all the tools to accomplish that. And here's the PDF you are going to get when you get the details. This comes right out of the playbooks, y'all. This is one of the playbooks that was just released at MegaCamp from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent teams. This is Sue Adler's team. They are in Gary's Top 200. This is going to have the direct steps on what you're doing at for the workshops. It's super simple. It's 4 simple steps. I'm going to post all of this and call it Seller Seminars and teach you how to do it over the rest of the month. I just wanted to use the rest of today's session to give you a glimpse of it and have an idea. Primarily, you're going to start out with Zoom because you can get it launched and going right away. It's going to go to your database. Doesn't matter where in the world people are. It's going to work for them anywhere. You can refer them anywhere. And then we'll build from there into an in-person conversation if this is something you want to add to your business planning going forward. That's a lot.
I got a few things, Sarah, I just wanted to follow up with on the seller lead program at sold.com.
Yep.
It's not a slam dunk. You still have to be able to capture, connect, convert with that lead to close for the appointment and then go out and list the property. So you've got to be prepared to be a listing agent. So if you've never done a listing appointment, you better brush up on that really quick and get to that, because you got to know how to go out and present a CMA and you got to present your value. So this is not a slam dunk that you're going to get the listing, but it's a listing referral lead that you can go out and then over time, if they don't sign that day, you keep in touch with them as well too.
John Fields is back to being my favorite because he thought they just wired the commission right through. And if that's not what happens, he's not interested. The whole rest of the month is focused on sellers, different seller lead formats, and how you become the best seller's agent, right? So in language of real estate, those are the conversations. Please don't help yourself. I think we all need the humor to keep going. In language of real estate, the conversations will be, okay, I get a seller lead. What do I say? I don't know what to do with that. Okay, I'm going on a listing appointment. What does that look like? The last week of the month, we will have people modeling a listing presentation together on Zoom for you guys to tap into when I'm out that week. And yeah, just stay tuned to the calendar for all the seller stuff. We're going to drive all the focus in that direction. This is not your cousin calling you and saying, come list my house. This is an online lead. It's different. Doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means understand that it's different. Brush up on your skills, get excited, keep growing. Robert, any other questions and thoughts you want to tend to before we give people 5 minutes back of their lives?
As I said, everybody gets the opportunity in our office to sign up for this. So if you've got a friend that wasn't here today, tell them, you can't believe what Broker Bob did for us today. He gave us this great seller lead referral source. But in order to get it, you got to send him some dark chocolate, because that's the only where you're going to get the link to sign up. Bottom line, they had to be here to get to be the first one. That's it.
You had to be here, and we don't support blackmail, but we do love chocolate. So you make sense of that as you go forward. All right, y'all, we're going to give you 4 minutes back of your day. Stay tuned to the Facebook page and the trainings and events for what's coming next to keep getting better with your seller details. Thank you, Robert, for pouring so much energy in today's conversation to keep us up to date on what's going on. And we'll see you all at the next one. Toodles.